So I'm here with Doug, and Doug, you want to introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit about how this journey started for you.
My name is Doug Cameron. I'm 65 years old now. I was 64 in April. And what happened to me was I received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine at work, on the clock at work. And a couple of weeks before the actual shot, the company had asked me to take a list. It was payday. I'm wanting to say it was around the 15th of March, I believe, payday. So I was handing out checks. My job was operations coordination manager of a 10,000 acre farm. And they also have a 10,000 head dairy. So my job was pretty, is right up there. I didn't, I'm not trying to butter anything up. It was a good job, a job I liked. And I was good at it. I've been doing it 13 years for that company. And so what I did was I hand checks out to everybody at the farm. So I see everybody, talk to everybody. And they had asked me, take this list with you because we're wanting to do the shot at the dairy. And we're trying to see how many people will get to do this. And okay, yeah, no problem. And I said, now, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm telling them the list is here. And it was implied it'd be good if your name was on it. So I said, well, okay, yeah, that's all right. So, and quite honestly, I thought, well, one shot better than two shots. So on I went, and I took the list to everybody, and I heard everything. I heard, no, I don't want it, and why? And I said, hey, I don't want to hear, I'm not pushing it. You want to do it, fine. You don't want to do it, don't put your name down. I'm not writing your name. You will write your own name. So I believe there was, I don't know how many people actually signed up for it, but I think out of probably 55 people, there might have been 6,
Wow.
With me being one of them. I know a few of those guys off the top of my head that signed up for it. When I took the list back, they're like, this is it? And I go, well, I heard from every one of them, and you're welcome to go capture them and say whatever you want to say to them. I said nothing, I didn't. And to this day, today, right now, I do not tell anybody you should get the shot, and I'm not telling anybody not to get the shot. That is your personal choice, and it should be your choice. You shouldn't be intimidated. You shouldn't, it should be your choice with no pressure. And nobody should pressure you in any way, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not telling anybody, if somebody says they're going to get it, be careful. I would say you might get tested for COVID before you get the shot.
Did you have COVID before you got the shot?
That nobody knows. But they tested me in the hospital after I got the shot, like 7 days, and they said, you have COVID. And I said, well, maybe I got it from the shot. Oh, no. Well, okay. I don't know. That's, they're coming up with every excuse to blame it on me.
So you got the
fact.
So you got the shot. 6 days later, you went to the hospital because you had pain in your hips.
Right. On Monday, the 5th, I got the shot.
But he had no symptoms.
And I had no symptoms. I wasn't coughing, hacking, nothing. But as the week went on the second day, though, I lost bladder control. I mean, I'm just walking along, and then all of a sudden, God dang, pants are wet, and I think, what happened? Now, that only happened one time. And the next day would have been Tuesday. Well, it happened on
April
Tuesday.
6th.
So the next day would have been Wednesday. I go to the shop foreman, and I said to Tom, I go, hey, Tom, I said, that list they give you of all the side effects you could have from this shot? I said, I could rewrite that whole damn list, And he goes, really? I go, yeah, I don't have diarrhea. I don't have vomiting. I don't have nausea. I have none of that. I said, but I got now, I says, I lost bladder control and ED is a problem. And, everything was working pretty good. So I go along and my hips start hurting. Now I'm working, and in my work is pretty physical. I weld, I'll crawl under semis. I mean, this is a big farm with big equipment, and I am a hands-on manager. I'm not suit and tie, sitting in pickup, telling somebody else what to do. I am with them, whatever it is. I ask nobody to do any work that I wouldn't do or be right with them while they're doing it. And take a lot of pride in that, and always have. So I go to the emergency room on Sunday, which I believe is the 11th, I believe. Don't have the calendar with me. But I got the shot on Monday, and on Sunday I go in and I tell them that I have like a cinching of my hips. It feels like somebody's got a ratchet strap around your hips, and it's just tight. I wear a belt, and every once in a while, you may sit in a pickup or something, and your belt's down a little tight and uncomfortable. It felt like that, except really tight. No pain, what I consider pain. It was more discomfort. I just could not get comfortable. I couldn't move this way or that way. Could not get comfortable. So I go to the hospital. I called the one clinic, is Quick Care, and they told me that seeing as they didn't give me the shot, they couldn't see me. So I had to go to the emergency room. And I think I might have called them on Saturday. So I went to the emergency room on Sunday, and it was just a bad deal. So I walked into the emergency room in Mountain Home, St. Luke's, and I said to him, hey, maybe you ought to test me for COVID, And now this is right at the receptionist. Oh no, you're okay. Well, I was okay. I mean, I had no cough, no fever, nothing, and I could walk okay. I mean, you or anybody else, they wouldn't say, boy, Doug, you're walking funny. It just, I was normal, I just felt this. So I go in and I tell them, they get me in there and they get me on the table and they're asking me all kinds of questions. high blood pressure. What medications do you take? Because I'm 64. Okay. I said, nothing. And they go, well, what about this? What about that? And I said, I told you nothing, zero. I am on nothing. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have cholesterol problems. I don't have nothing. Every once in a while, as everybody else, I'm physically working, and yeah, my muscles get sore. I take ibuprofen. That's about it. Once in a while, and the wife, she limits that. So anyhow, I tell them that. So they're like, oh wow, and I go, I'm healthy. I'm good. And they go, well, what about this? What about that? They're going down the line. They said, well, we're going to have to check you for something. In between all this, everybody leaves the room, and there's this guy standing there, and I says, well, when are you going to test me for COVID? And he goes, you don't have COVID. You look all right. Okay, well, you guys are the doctors, and so pretty soon,
Did you
I didn't tell him.
Did you tell him you had the shot?
Oh yeah, I told him that I had received the shot, and so they were going down trying to find something else wrong with me, and they couldn't see anything wrong with the hips, just what I was telling, So eventually, my wife called to see where I was at. She had just received her test. She was positive for COVID. So when they found that out, they wanted to test me. All of a sudden, now I'm a goddamn emergency.
Even though you had no symptoms.
Even though I have no symptoms, but because of the wife, now. So so they test me positive for COVID. They did one of the quick tests, which I'd been asking for, And then back in the ambulance, and I go to Boise. They want to do an MRI on me. So I go to Boise, which is about 50 miles away, and they wheel me in there. And now I go into the hospital at noon, just right at noon. Kind of ticked off about this a little bit. I go into the hospital at noon. So the ambulance guys, they're taking me up, and I'm talking to them, everything. And I said, man, this is pretty bad. I got the shot, and I'm just kind of BSing with them and going along pretty good. And they wheel into the hospital, and now I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. And I say to them, how do I get home? You guys going to wait for me? And they go, no, we ain't waiting for you. We're leaving. I go, well, how am I getting home? And they go, you're on your own. And I go, well, I said something,
So you're in the hospital in Boise. What did the doctors say? They asked you questions. What they asked?
So the doctor, I waited there for, I don't know how long, a long, long time. And finally I get the MRI. And then they come in and they said, it's COVID. You have COVID. And I go, yeah, that's what they say. And they do an MRI, and they come back, and they said, well, we can't find nothing wrong with you, and we're going to let you go home. And I go, oh, okay. How am I getting home? Now keep in mind, I know I have COVID. they know I have COVID. My wife is sick, and through fate, or whatever you want to call it, she had taken the keys to the pickup and put them in her car. I had her car, so she had no way to come and get me. Plus, she was pretty sick, you know. So I thought, God dang. So I says to this guy, now I've been in the hospital since noon. They're getting ready to kick me out 10 o'clock that night.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, yeah. It gets what?
But you know, they keep saying that
What?
this is what they sent you home with.
Oh.
Reading that.
Okay. This here is after my visit summary. Okay.
Okay.
From the ER on the 11th.
I can take a picture of that and send that to you. You know, it says here, follow up with your PCP in 1 week, which I didn't have a doctor. I'd never been sick.
Okay.
So if you develop numbness, tingling, loss of sensation in lower extremities, and it's moving upward, you need to come back to the ED to rule out Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Guillain-Barré.
Yeah, right.
They
Yeah.
sent him home suspecting
So-
that.
They were suspecting it.
How'd
Sent
they
me
get
home.
how'd they get that?
Because of the feelings that he was having.
Just the
Okay.
sensations I was having.
Okay. So Saturday night you got home?
Sunday night. Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah. Sunday night. So what I did was, luckily I had money, cash with me. So I call up the taxi and I says, how much to get me home? And I mean, okay, what am I supposed to do? I'm in a city and I'm not a city guy, you know. It's kind of, so I got a ride and I didn't tell him I had COVID. I didn't lie. I didn't tell him. And I'm thinking, I was there asking for help and just turned away. I mean, kicked out the door, go, see ya. Unbelievable, unbelievable. And I said to the orderly or whoever he was, I said, do you guys ever eat around here or maybe drink? You know, I mean, from noon to 10, nothing. So I come home and I call my boss in the morning and tell him that I tested positive. The work that I do is pretty, I don't necessarily have to interact with people. I can drive up, I could be in the pickup if I wanted. And they told me that I could go to work if I stayed away from people. And I thought, well, yeah, okay. But at work, they told me, no, don't worry about it, you know. So I did stuff around my own place here, you know, and on Tuesday night, which would be the 14th of April, I came in, I'd been moving sprinkler pipe, getting ready to turn the water on. And it was about 9 o'clock at night, I get done. And I told my wife, I said, boy, I feel like something is just poison in me, you know. I said, I don't know what it is. So I ate, and then I had a shower, and I go to bed. It's 10 o'clock. And I mean, I went to bed, and I must have just been out like a light. At 10 minutes to 2, that's less than 4 hours later, I am paralyzed. I wake up for some reason. I don't know if the dog woke me up or whatever. I woke up and I snore So the wife and I sleep in different rooms, So pretty good snorer was. And I holler, come help me. I got problems. And she, of course, was pretty hysterical and scared. And I was, now take it easy, take it easy. And she says, I'm calling the ambulance. All right, call them. And the ambulance was here quite quickly, actually, real quick, because I'd gotten dressed and kind of dressed to be respectable. And they loaded me up in the ambulance.
Wow.
And from the ambulance, I went to Mountain Home, and I was there not very long before they sent me to Boise. Unload you and then go to Boise. I get to Boise, and of course, they know I got COVID, and things start happening in Boise. So I got a timeline here of everything that went on, and it's the entire time in Boise, didn't know what's wrong yet, So let's see. On the 15th, I get to Boise. St. Luke's Emergency Department in Mountain Home, then to Boise, transported to St. Luke's in Boise. Lack of resources available, admitted to COVID Unit 19. Okay. Then they started testing me, and they found I had a blood clot in my leg. That was on the 16th. The entire spinal cord was swollen. Doctors unsure diagnosis from range of symptoms. I mean, things were getting worse by the minute. They started steroids, plasmapheresis, and IVIG treatments. On the 17th, there's still unsure diagnosis. Conversations started regarding ADIP, Guillain-Barré, and transverse myelitis. Aspirated on water. They were doing something to me, and the gal gave me a drink, and it went down the wrong pipe. So I start coughing.
Yeah.
Well, when you lose your core and you only have your diaphragm, you cannot cough like a regular person. So it's kind of a struggle. They took it upon themselves that I was dying and needed to be aspirated. So they shoved that tube down my throat. Huh?
Intubated.
Intubated.
Yeah.
They shoved that tube down my throat. Then all my talking was done, and I started going downhill. So they admitted me into the ICU unit right after that and put me on a ventilator because they had the tube down. Now, I had no lung trouble or anything prior to this,
But they were insistent.
They were insistent, and to this day, if I get near a doctor, they let me listen to your lungs. They've listened, and they always sound good. And I told them in Utah, I says, I have the heart of an Olympic swimmer and the lungs of one of the guides on Mount Everest. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm
right.
okay. And they would listen and listen. Yeah, you're okay. So then on the 18th, I'm in ICU, pretty well hooked up to everything. They got more stuff going in IVs and everything.
They said since you went to ICU, now you were eligible for COVID medications.
Eligible for COVID medication, whatever. And let me tell you, they had more lines going in on me, and unbelievable.
But you didn't have that.
Prior to this, in my entire life, I was never in the hospital. Never. I mean, never. So this was all new to me. I was behind glass doors, and I could write on a whiteboard still to my wife, who was on the other side. She could only visit me on the other side of the window for 1 hour a day. Pretty nice. For 3 days, she didn't see me, and she is my advocate. And believe me, anybody who goes to an ICU unit needs an advocate. They need them. If you got a wife or a brother or whoever, you need somebody advocating for you, or they will just do whatever they want.
And that's what happened.
And that's pretty much what happened to me. So everything's moving, and I still have a life that is kind of in a shambles. You know, I got a personal life and personal things going on that we need to take care of. I got cattle that need taken care of, things like this. And I can't talk. I can't call anybody on the phone to help. And I'm writing everything down. My son, he flew in from Washington to come help his mother, but he was still, he didn't know where the cows were, or, you know, I mean, things were, this is what I did. You know, they didn't know that. It's hard for me to write everything down. So I ended up having them gather all the cows and sell them. Gather everything you can get a hold of this friend of mine, gather everything, go into the canyon, gather everything you can see with my brand on it, and sell them.
Wow.
Because I said, and then what we'll do afterwards, I said, if I can walk, you know, we'll buy the cows back, was my thought. And they ain't walking yet. So on the 28th of April, I tested negative for COVID. Requested a consultation with the Mayo Clinic. That coming from my son, pushing. Yeah. He's a pretty good advocate too. I was off the ventilator on the 30th of April, and I was moved out of ICU to non-emergency care on the 5th of May. And when I came out of ICU, I could barely lift my hand, barely. I was so weak. I mean, this is from a guy who's throwing semi-tires in the back of a pickup 2 weeks before that, you know. And I could just barely. And when I did, it's shaking so bad, you know. I mean, it just, I'm and trying.
What did the doctors say?
No, they didn't say. They said, ICU does that to you, I guess. I mean, it just wipes you out. And they're telling me, like, for every day you're in there, it takes a week to recover to your normal, you know. Wow. I was in there 2 weeks, you know. So I mean, my arms were so skinny, there was no muscle, nothing. It just skin hanging on me, you know. I hated to look at myself. I mean, it was terrible.
So did you go back home?
Oh, no. Oh, I was actually in the hospital for 105 days.
Are you kidding? You're kidding me.
No, oh no.
He had such severe bed sores.
I had, let's see. Okay, I developed bed sores because they weren't turning me, and I can't move. And I didn't know anything about this because I'd never been in the hospital before. So on the 6th of May, they were so bad, and I was off of oxygen, didn't need oxygen anymore. And then that Dr. McClaskey told me that I was the only patient they have treated in the state of Idaho with the symptomology that I have experienced. I was the only one.
And they didn't know what to do with
And they didn't know what to do with me. And I'm thinking, now I know a little bit more, so it's hindsight. In my job, if I cannot do my job for some reason, if I run up against a problem that I can't fix, I make a phone call now, right now. If I have a lot of people around me that are better at some things than me. I have people that are better welders than me, better mechanics than me, and if I can't fix it, I have no problem whatsoever calling on these people, come help me out, and I will learn from them. Doctors are not that way, so they won't call. So
Right.
Anyhow, I was waiting, trying to get into rehab. You know, I'm kind of pushing to get better, really pushing hard. So it took me a while to get into rehab. They were rejecting me because I was doing plasmapheresis, which is like it washes your blood, you know, and what's it do? It's like a.
it takes out plasma.
It takes plasma out.
And they replace it with a human thing. I don't know.
They
take that bad antibodies out.
But when they take the bad antibodies, they take the good ones too. Plasmapheresis takes it all. So you got to start over. And they had done this to me, and I guess it's pretty expensive. And they did this to me for a while. And I'd go in. It started, they did it every other day.
Every other day.
And then they got me down to every 3 days. And then they got me down to
once a week.
Yeah. And but I doing it.
But it didn't do anything for him.
It didn't do anything bad, and it didn't do anything good, you know. So then on the 17th of May, I was moved to St. Alphonsus Medical Center to receive rehabilitation and plasmapheresis. That was the problem. I was still getting treated for this, and the hospital was saying, we don't want him. I'm thinking, okay, you don't want me. That's fine. So anyhow, got there, and again, I had those bed sores. So every 2 hours, woke up and turned. Every 2 hours, every day, all night.
Wow. Yeah.
Starting the 17th. And getting checked. Now, what you got to remember is when I'm going through this, I have no bowel control. I have no bladder control. So I was in that hospital kind of like over Labor Day. And so nothing happened to me. I just laid in bed in my own stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that didn't help the bed sores. So I said to that doctor, I go, hey, you know what?
Memorial Day.
It was Memorial Day.
Wow.
So, well, I said, hey, nobody's taking care of me here, And he goes, well, help is hard to find, help. And it's Memorial Day. I go, now I'm a farmer, and I'm going to tell you, it don't matter what day it is. If you're running water, irrigating or whatever, and if you're feeding animals, they don't care if it's Memorial Day or, the Pope's birthday or nothing.
Right.
So, and I told him, he goes, well, the people. And I said, well, let me tell you something about people. If you can't change the people, then you need to change the people. And he kind of looked at me. So then I had to kind of explain it to him. If you cannot change the people to get them to do what you want, then change the people, like kick them out the door and go get new people, Oh, yeah, I get it now. Yeah, okay. So on the 30th of May, I get moved to the University of Utah, Craig Nielsen Rehabilitation Hospital. And
in June, at the end of June.
The end of June, June 30th. That's when that was. And pretty good outfit down there. Those people, the rehabilitation, they work with you hard. They, the nurses, doctors, whatever, they come in. It's not one, it's a team. They come in.
You figured they'd help you medically, research-wise, but they're terrified of this.
They're a little afraid of me. I had the infectious disease guys down there, and I got every test there was. My leg swelled up while I was down there, pretty big, my left leg, and they did a biopsy to find out what it was. At the time, I had a temperature of 105, but I was just like I'm talking to you right now. And they said, Doug, you have a temperature of 105. And don't you feel sick? I go, no, I feel pretty good. And they'd listen to my lungs. Lungs were great. Heart was great. Everything's great. No cough, no nothing. And they just could not figure this out. They took x-rays, CT scans. I was in the MRI tube for 3.5 hours. They checked everything. And I mean, those guys down there at Utah, when they say they want a test, within 5 minutes, you're going to the test. If they say you want an MRI, within 30 minutes, you're in the tube. There's no waiting. And I was quite impressed with that. They did, I don't know what else they did. They did blood tests on me. They did everything. And then I woke up one day and I said, well, I think my fever broke because my sheets were just soaked. And they said, yeah, your temperature's down. They never found why I had a temperature of that. And I mean, they were pretty panic struck about it, but nothing ever happened.
I believe that if they would have admitted that the vaccine did this to Doug, they would have been able to have treated him successfully. But they were so terrified to admit that the vaccine did this, is why he's still in this situation.
To this minute, they are not, nobody is admitting that the shot did it at all. Prior to this, there was nothing wrong with me. And it's like, I wrote a letter to the senators, and in that letter that I wrote to them, Oh, where is it? Can you find in there where I say about?
Oh, yeah, that's just terrible. So you've seen all these doctors, been to multiple hospitals, multiple doctors, all kinds of tests. I mean, honestly, what you're telling me, 105-degree temperature. I mean, you're lucky to be alive, and they did nothing comes back. They have no answers for you, nothing.
Right.
And
right.
so now,
and I have told everybody, and I'll tell you too. I have what they call my chart at the hospital, which is kind of cool and very good for my wife, because when they do a test, it goes to my chart, and she can look at it wherever she's at. I would let anybody look at my chart, anybody, because I have nothing to hide. I'm nothing whatsoever to hide from anybody.
Right. So what are the doctors saying now? I mean, what's next for you then? I mean, you must be frustrated, both you and your wife, beyond imagine. I can't even imagine how frustrated, angry, betrayed, a host of different adjectives, right? What now?
Well, now is these are the cards I was dealt, and now I got to play the hand. And I mean, I got grandkids that I love. I got a wife who's working with me. They didn't want me back at my job, so I do have to find another job. But I'm not angry with the world. I'm not. This is the hand I was dealt, and now you got to toughen up, and I'm going to learn a new life, and I'm going to be just as good in my new life as I was in the past life, and I'm going to struggle to get to my old life. I hope someday I could get feeling in my legs, or I have a lot of people praying for me, which is kind of humbling, as far as me go. I say this, and my wife does. It kind of bothers her, and I don't blame her. It's if that vial that I got the shot from, for some reason, something was in it extra, I don't know. I'm glad I got the shot and not a 40-year-old guy with a couple kids, I'm going to get through this. I got a good wife. We've been married 38 years. I got a good kid who's, he flies down from Washington, helps us whenever he can. And we're in a rural community, and I got good neighbors, but I can only lean on neighbors so long. So I've been out of the hospital now 2 months, and it has been quite a challenge. My wife is my caregiver, I guess you could say. No, I guess she is. Without my wife, I'd probably be dead. And we're learning a lot of things. It's kind of tough. It's kind of tough on her, but there is no financial help from federal or state for somebody like me. But, we can give healthy companies with healthy walking around people a lot of money for nothing. And I could use a little bit of federal help. And I've told the doctors, use me to find out what went wrong.
But they won't.
It's not me. It's your vaccine. Something went wrong in the vaccine somewhere, because it's not me. And they all say, well, it was COVID. And I said, well, what about the vaccine? Oh, no, couldn't be the vaccine. But there's so little known about the vaccine because everybody that I talk to, senators, representatives, even I called Dr. Knapp at Bethesda, Maryland,
The
is National Institute of Health, and I could forward you his response. It's like, well, you're the only one in the world. You think we're going to drop everything to see what happened to you? Not in the country, in the world, you know. So that's the National Institute of Health. So I would think, you know, I'm not begging him for, I'm not asking anything out of him other than do your job.
Own up to it.
Own up. Do your job. If there's a problem, find the problem, fix the problem. You know, it's.
But
I'm
they
pretty meat and potatoes guy.
deny.
You know, but everywhere you go, they deny everything, and there are people dying. There are real people dying. I've here in Boise, they tried to mandate the shot for the nurses. And in my letter to the senators, I said, I know a lot of these nurses said, we will quit our job before we take the vaccine. How many of them nurses do you think come and saw me? And they asked me. Now, a nurse cannot ask you what happened to you, apparently. But they'd come in, and me, I'm kind of a nice guy. I'd say, hey, you want to know what happened to me? Yeah. I said, I got the Johnson & Johnson shot. You're the one. Yeah, I'm the one. We've heard about you. Yeah, well, I'm it. Come look, you know. And they would come and look. I had more nurses, doctors, everybody come by, and what they saw. So then they wanted to quit. You know, they were going to quit their job other than have that happen to them. We've seen. Now, I think those doctors and nurses have seen a lot more than me, a lot more. And I believe that is why. And I mean, these are educated people. I'm educated through the School of Hard Knocks, got a PhD or two, you know, and common sense just says if you got a healthy individual, he was doing fine with no heart trouble, no nothing. He don't even have a damn medical record, you know. They said, well, who's your doctor? And I said, I don't know, the guy on Broadway there, you know, Doc in the Box. That's what I call him. And the physician's clinic, then they stay open. And one day I might see this guy or that guy, you know, if I had a cold or something. But I don't have a medical record for them to fall back on. My teeth are good, you know.
So after all you've been through, just crazy. And seems like nobody wants to give you the time of day to do their job. If you could stand before all these doctors and the media and the drug company executives and the politicians, and you could tell them straight up, what would you tell
them? I would tell them that this is America. People have a choice. And the president, the governor of Idaho, asked me to get the shot. And I got the shot. And now I'm asking them for some help. I'm not blaming them. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm asking them, do your job, do what you are good at, and help me. Help me, help others, help everybody, you know, who took the step to get the shot. You know, that is what I'd tell them. Help me, help my family just help me get, I don't want their money. If they came up to me and said, I'm not looking for Social Security. I'm not on Social Security. Even now, I'm on nothing. What I would like them to do, if, I'd like them to come up and say, Doug, we're going to give you a job. That's what I'd like. I want to get back into society, working society. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, but this problem that I have now is pretty devastating to people, and maybe me, but more devastating than me losing my legs was losing my job. That was more devastating to me. Because all the time that I'm in the hospital, I wanted to get back to my job. And I go back, and then they say they don't want me. And I'm capable of doing a lot of stuff. I'm capable of doing 90%, a good 80% of what I used to do. And I do it for half the money, And that's what I'd like. And if I could tell, Biden or the governor or somebody, I'd say, just stand behind us, just stand behind your people.
It happened. It's real.
It did happen. I didn't fake this. I'm not wanting anything. I'm not asking them for anything. Give me a job. Give me a job that I can go to. Now I'm going to get a job. I will get a job. Don't worry. I'll get something. And I mean, if I needed to, I'd drive up to Walmart and be a greeter, I mean, but I'd like a good job. And believe me, whatever job I get, it'll be the last job I get. Because in the last 40 years, I've only had 2 jobs. I was 25 years on the ranch, and I've been 15 years on this job. And I had a job, they sold the ranch. So I'd been there 25 years, and they kind of wanted to keep me there, but I thought, maybe it's time I move on a little bit. And they were bringing in, they were going to change a lot of stuff. And I happened to get this job with Terry out of TLK, and it was a good job. It was a good job, and I really thought they were going to, I thought it'd be the last job I ever get. And my plan was to work till 70. That was my plan, and then slow down a little bit. That was my plan. So I got a little sidetracked now with this problem that I got, but I want to tell you and everybody else, I'm not crying or whining to anybody. I would like to have those people sit and look at me, and I don't want their pity. I don't want their pity. I want their help. And they're professionals, and I want their professional help. That's what I want. And don't pass the buck. Say, by God, if maybe there is something wrong. Maybe there is something we need to look at. Maybe we need to let the public know that there is flaws in this and there is risks.
And they're serious. Very
serious risks. If you're willing to take that risk, and because I really wasn't wanting the shot. I mean, my wife, she hasn't had the shot, and don't plan on getting it either. So one thing I did ask the doctor, it's kind of funny. I got out of the ICU and I kind of laying there. I can't do much else. But so I said to him, I said, hey, doc, what do you think of the booster? And he goes, what booster? And I go, well, you know they're going to have a booster. I said, what do you recommend for me? And I was serious. And that guy, I mean, he turned white as a sheet. And he goes, I wish you didn't ask me that question. Now that's a doctor. So, but I'll tell you, this is my opinion, my thought is, Doug, I think you've had enough shots. I don't think I need a booster. So that booster might take care of me, forever. So I'm not leaning towards the booster, So anyhow, but like to say, I don't know if I answered your question correctly. I really don't. And if I didn't, I apologize.
I don't have I wasn't looking for an answer other than your answer. And you gave a great answer. It was real. It was honest. Yeah. And, Doug, thank you for your time, for being vulnerable, for your courage. And I wish you the best. And we're going to keep fighting this fight. People know.
I am going to keep fighting it. I got, like I say, we did a vigil today, and it was kind of nice. And, when I go to those kind of deals, it inspires me. Talking to you inspires me. I still got a lot of good things left in me, and I will, I'm hoping to do eventually. I did a video for a senator here quite a while ago when I was down in Utah, and kind of lay out what happened to me. And again, I'm not trying to be political one way or the other. I'm really not. I think that's probably most of the trouble with any of this is, politics gets involved, and I'm not trying to be. And I told my wife that I can't wait till I get a good job so I can go make another video and tell everybody how well I'm doing, and thank you for their support and everything. And I'll get that job. It's there. I got a chance at whatever I want to do now. I just don't know. Working on some hand controls so I can drive, and life is going to be just as good. It's just going to be a little bit slower, but I've had a good life. If I died today, if I died tonight, I have had a good life, and I've had a good life, and my boy is good. My wife, everything's good. So, and that's more than probably a lot of people can say. I got nothing to really complain about. So, had some tough times and just made me a better person, and helped me raise my kid. But I appreciate you taking your time also. And it's good to meet you face to face.